chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to New York Talk. It's going well. It's a good start. Mick late with the buttons, as always. Timing off. Mick's already in international mode. He's already in the window for the international break. He's already sweating his standards slip. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. New York Talk, this is the Rotherham United podcast. You can tell we're out from the league. We're a bit giddy, a bit jolly. It's fun. Mick, thank you for joining us. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you. Danny, nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to see you all again.
Absolutely. So we're going to cover there's only one game to cover. We'll talk about the Middlesbrough 0-0 draw. Me and Mickles went to see the Rotherham United women's team today, made their home league bow of the season. Words of that effect. We will talk about that as well. You may even get a very brief Mick ref rant on this one. I don't think it's too much. Might get one.
Oh dear.
We'll come on to that. So, Danny, if I'd have told you, how many weeks ago? 30th of July, we're going into the international break on 8 points with only one defeat, 5 clean sheets. There's no way you'd have believed me, is there?
I mean, 5 clean sheets, that is for sure. But even just having one loss, it's like, wow, we have played very well in our opening little segment of this season, haven't we? All for it as well. I think if you'd have told me it before we played Swansea, I'd be like, right, just tell me whatever it is you've been smoking, because I'd like some as well. But yeah, it's great. It's great that we've only lost one game, and if you condense it down even further, we've only really played between 45 and 60 minutes of bad football in those games, and we've only really played it horribly for 45 minutes, which we conceded 3 goals. But can't really complain being what we now 8th in the league. Is it 8th? Yep, 8th. I can't remember. I get dizzy when I think about how high we are in the league. But yeah, it's great. It's great being a Miller at the minute.
Yeah, it is. We've been here before. You go back to it's a long time ago. You go back to 2002 when we had an amazing start under Ronnie Moore. I think we were 5th at this stage, something like that. So it's not record breaking, but it's almost unheard of. It's people like Danny and Ben who's not with us tonight. I've never seen days like this before. That's sort of the level. 9 games in, but at the same time, we said this every week, and I do really mean it. Just try and enjoy these moments because it won't last forever, will it?
No, it won't. Absolutely. The season's a long one, and you don't know where it's going to go, do you? So yeah, absolutely enjoy it while you can, because it may not last. It may last. Who knows? There are a lot of differences between this squad and any of the others that we've had at this level. To be fair. But the bottom line is we're 8th in Championship, mate. Going into an international break, 14 points, 1 game, 1 defeat, all season. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So enjoy it. I am.
Yeah, I suppose there is caveats to it. So we sit for 14 points, 1 point off the playoff places with a game in hand. We are only 4 points off the relegation zone. Yes, we have a game in hand on that. But we normally say 9 or 10 games the league starts to take shape. I'm not convinced the league has taken its shape, and that's not sort of given. That's not. I'm not trying to play us down there, but there's so many teams that are just not going to gear. Middlesbrough are not going to be down there all season. I think West Brom are 4th from bottom. They're not going to finish 4th from bottom. The league still hasn't taken shape, probably for everybody. We'll see. We will see. We like getting giddy. We've got a few people with us. Gavin Gundy's with us, Baz is with us, Phil Rawlinson, Michael Oates, Adam Coward, YouTube user Neil Liversidge. There's loads of you. Steve Gundy, Paul Brock. Thank you, everybody who is joining us. Jamie points out, evening all, 8th at the international break is madness. Yes, it is. Brian Vernon, professional job last night, boys. Not pretty, but we are 8th and we'll take that every day of the week. Labrabone played very well.
I love it, Brian.
And Prime would do okay with a bit of a start. We've only played a fifth of our games. If we average the same points for the rest of the season, we will get 75 points, which, as we mentioned in the last episode, 75 points is the average for a playoff spot. We will probably come on to the fixtures just after the international break. So they said on commentary last night, Danny, I was you at the game, but they said on the commentary something along the lines of by the end of October, we'll have a better idea where Rotherham are going to be when they've played some of the better teams. But, I mean, tell me the best team. We've got Sheffield United and maybe Norwich and Burnley. There's only 3 teams out of the 24. We've played 19 against 9 teams and we've been okay. I'm fairly comfortable other than the Sunderland game.
I think that comment does us a disservice, actually, because you look at how well some teams have actually been played and how well they've played against other teams that aren't us. Reading, for example, right? I don't know if we caught Reading on a bad day, but they were absolutely pony against us. I think the only team that was probably worse was Blackpool in terms of actually playing football. And yeah, I think it does us a disservice. Like I know, like Burnley are up there as well. Norwich have now got into gear and are doing really well. Sheffield United, I think we all knew were going to do very well at this level. But again, teams like Reading, QPR, Preston, they have been doing very well so far and are maybe higher up than the stereotype says they should be. But again, we've played really well against them as well. You know, Preston may be the only exception because it was a bit shaky at times when we rode the luck. But it's not like we've just got lucky with results. You know, it's not like it's just been, you know, like a headed goal from a set piece every single time. We've won 1-0 every single time. We have really put teams to the sword, mainly Reading, Birmingham and Blackpool. And we've only lost once against a promotion rival, a fellow promotion winning side from last season that have spent a fair bit of money because they are able to do that. And they've vastly improved their squad, which I'm not really too fussed out because if you're capable to do it, you're going to do it, aren't you? And even then, we gave them a game for 45 minutes and then, I don't know, Sunderland found an extra gear and we switched off and then absolute calamity at the back. But again, we've not really got lucky with results. We've ground out some results like that we did against Middlesbrough. That was a definite grinding out of a result. And we've definitely shown that we're not to be messed with in this division. And even Chris Wilder has said, Rotherham aren't here by mistake. So he's actually gone against what Sky have said. But we all know that Sky do not like the little teams doing well. And unfortunately, we are the little team this season. We're like, we'll find out in October how they're actually doing and this, that and other. And it's like, don't be so sure, lads. You know, I don't want to nail my colours to the mast just yet. But we will be one of the surprises, I think.
Just running you through the October fixture, we'll come on to the Middlesbrough game in detail. To be honest with you, there's not much to cover from the Middlesbrough game because nothing happened. But we'll cover it as much as we can. But just to break down the October fixtures, and I'll go through them all, and then you can tell me which one of those is not winnable. And the other teams will think this as well, the teams we're facing. Our October fixture, we have 8 fixtures, which is a lot of fixtures in one month anyway. We've got Wigan, Millwall, Blackburn, Huddersfield, Stoke, Hull, Coventry, and Cardiff. Now, tell me which one of those is not winnable. And like I said, those teams will think the exact same, Mick. There are, if in an ideal world we could win all 8, we're not going to, obviously. But we could win half of those games, and that wouldn't be a surprise based on how we've started.
No, it wouldn't. Absolutely. I mean, this division is the same as it's always been. You've got two, maybe 3 teams who are ahead of everyone else. And with, I can't think of a better word, so I'm going to use it a term, but I'm going to use it anyway. Everybody else is an also-ran. Everybody else is pretty much of a muchness, you know. So yeah, they're all winnable games. I accept fully that everybody else will be saying the same thing, you know. Yeah. But the reason why we're saying it and everybody else is saying it is because it's true. They are winnable games, you know. So we just have to, without wanting to revert to Football Manager cliches, it's one game at a time, isn't it? But it is, certainly from our point of view. It's about maintaining that level that we've set, which is very, very high in terms of when we've been here before, The performances, particularly defensively, with the exception of the Sunderland game, have been absolutely outstanding. We've been rock solid. So, and the points total, the win-loss total, and the goals conceded total show you that. I think we've conceded the third least goals in this division. The ones above us are Sheffield United, who are top of the league, and Preston, who failed to score and failed to concede for about 16 years, I think. So with the exception of that, it's us next. I won't get too worried about Sky and all the media of any kind. The media and Sky are not in the business of fairness. They're in the business of making money and getting clicks. So they are going to fall down on the sides, the clubs with the biggest fan base, because it means they get more money, they get more clicks. That's how they're going to operate. So it's great for us. We just fly under the radar and upset a few people. Happy days. It's great. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. John Rail points out, I think October's a big month where everybody has 8 games, so it's a test of squad, which for likes of us and Birmingham may well struggle. Yeah, everybody's going to be saying the same. Keep everybody fit, and we'll be good to go.
The key to that, though, from our point of view, and we've said this on a number of podcasts now, we don't have a massive strength in depth. We don't, much as John's alluded to there.
Except in defence.
However, in defence, we do. In defence at the moment, we can swap out any 2 or 3 players for another 2 or 3 players of the same level, of the same quality. And that, I think, is going to be the vital part. That's the thing, really, from our point of view, particularly coming up with a run of games like this, that is going to stand us in better stead than a lot of other clubs. I might be wrong, but that's my view.
Yeah, I get it. Cheryl Stone says very disrespectful. Sky mixed means towards us last night. Even Sol Bamba mentioned it on the Twitter space last night. Sol Bamba rolling out, beating teams like that at home. I mean,
hey, I love you.
When Sky are literally saying it, I don't know what you meant to do.
I reckon. At New York Stadium, or at least at Roundwood, they should have a big jar, like one of them big Coke bottles. And every time someone sees a teams like Rotherham thing, they chuck £1 in it and see how much money they've got to end at month. And then if we win the final game of the month, that money's used to buy pizza for the team.
You build that more than some pizzas, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Build sending with Vegas again.
Well, end at season, you open the bottle, see how much money you've got, and then you can all either spend it on your end of season do, or even give it to the hospice and go, this is how much other teams in the country have contributed to you this season by saying we're the underdogs. Yeah.
Let's talk about the game itself. Like, there's honestly not much to talk about from the game. It was. We had a discussion earlier, Mick, while we were at the women's game. People on Twitter and everything called it a rubbish game, and they said rubbish game because nothing happened. I don't think it was particularly low on quality. I thought both teams did okay. The only player that stood out was Duncan Watmore for them, who I thought was excellent, and when he came off, I was baffled. But yeah, it's not pretty. But we've got to play away from home. We've got to play like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, doesn't it? It's a cheap shot, isn't it? Really, say it were a crap game. You can say that because Middlesbrough aren't doing very well, and Rotherham are Rotherham, so it's going to be a crap game if it isn't 15 all. Whatever, we've got a vested interest in this, as have the Middlesbrough supporters. And when you're watching your own team, then you see it differently. You see it through different eyes. And I'm sure that if that game last night would have been, I don't know, Luton against Millwall, I would have probably said the same thing. Yeah, it was crap. In that I wasn't entertained because I'm watching Luton versus Millwall or whoever else just to see goals. That's the only reason I'm watching it. So yeah, maybe from that point of view it was a crap game, but I don't think it was. Personally, I don't think it lacked quality particularly, with the exception of chance creation or chance conversion. I think that's the only place that the quality was lacking. I thought defensively both sides were really solid, to be honest. Certainly in that first half, obviously, like you said, we mentioned we talked about it today. We talked about it with Ben, and Ben mentioned the fact that he felt that Middlesbrough, their game plan in that first half was to just sit back and allow us the ball. And there certainly were periods during that first half where I'm thinking, well, I'm not really watching. We can't be Rotherham in white here because we're keeping all at ball and we're playing some nice intricate passes and just playing a bit of possession football. That's because they allowed us to do that, but it weren't lacking in quality particularly. Obviously, it weren't a Premier League standard game, but I were all right. We were all right. We weren't bad.
No. Scotty Price says he thought the first half would play well in the first half, not great in the second. Happy with the point. He still thinks he needs some more firepower up front, especially away from home. Yeah, Danny, what was your general gist on the game? Is that Scotty's assessment there basically correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think first half, like you say, Middlesbrough did sit off us and allowed us the ball, and we did play some very good football at times. But I think the second half, we sort of came under pressure when Warney took Washington off and brought on Scott High.
Yeah.
And we were saying to everybody, why has he took off a striker for a midfielder? And, Chair was sort of up front on his own, and he sort of had Wiles in behind him playing the role that Matt Crooks used to play with Michael Smith. And it was a bit, I would have took off Georgie Kelly because at that point in time, it was crying out for effectively a bulldozer of an attacker. Like Washington was doing all right. Whenever he backed into the defender was always too strong for him. You needed someone who get in and get really meaty challenges going both from himself and sort of ride them himself as well. And I thought it was crying out for Georgie Kelly to come on. But he came on far too late for me. I thought he should have come on earlier and really tried to, pull open their defence a little bit. Because if you've got Georgie doing that job, then Chio can run off him into the space, get the ball, and potentially have a chance. But I thought Warney brought on, we like to criticise Warney from time to time, especially with his substitutes. We're Rotherham fans, that's what we do.
Yep.
We like to criticise substitutes. I thought he brought on too many midfielders too quickly. I would have liked to have seen a midfielder and then bringing a striker on to shake up front a little bit. And then I understand McCart coming on later in the game to shore up the defence a little bit. But I don't know. I just thought Georgie should have, or even Tom Eaves, to give a bit more of an aerial threat. But then again, with the whole Tom Eaves thing, the referee blew every single time we had a set piece. He saw something in the box, I do not know. But every time the ball went above 7 feet in the air for us, he blew his whistle for something. Why, I don't know. So maybe Georgie was the better option overall, but for me, he should have come on about 60 minutes rather than, when did he come on, about 82? Something like that. So that's my 2p on it.
I can tell you now why the referee were blowing, Danny. It's absolutely. I mean, you won't be aware of this, but come sort of 82, 83 minutes, my wife said to me, "This referee's been all right. He's been pretty fair all the way through the game." And from that moment on, literally from that moment on, he just blew for everything. So that's why he were blowing.
Yeah. Also, this didn't impact the game, but at the end of the game, he put 4 minutes of injury time. Now, Matt Crooks was down injured.
Well, I've got a point about that. I mean, if you want to go on about referee ranting, I've got one for you there. But go on, carry on.
I was going to say that Matt Crooks was down it went down before the 90. And then he got up on around 91 minutes. Bear in mind, the referee put 4 minutes on. The referee blew on 93 minutes and 52 seconds. Mm-hmm. So not only we lost a minute, at least a minute and a half, we lost of injury time. He just couldn't wait to get out of there, could he?
So that's why I was so surprised he blew early.
We didn't lose that time. We didn't lose that time because in the first half, I can't remember whether they put 2 or 3 minutes. I think it was 2 minutes. Right. And at 92 minutes and 40 seconds, they're taking their second corner. So he's played at least 40 seconds, probably 50 seconds extra in that first half while they're taking corners. Then when it gets cleared, it's off. 10, 15 seconds before the end of injury time, when we're about to launch another one into the box, it blows up early. So there's no conspiracy, obviously. I'm just saying. It was a bit poor that, I thought.
Yeah. Let's talk about substitutions, Mick, because Scott High came on the hour mark. He is the second most substituted player so far this season in the Championship, with 8 appearances off the bench. Didn't really work, and I agree with Danny. I didn't really get it. I know he was trying to. I think he's trying to shorten the midfield, which didn't work. Bringing Scott High on didn't help that. I don't know why you're trying to shorten the midfield with Scott High when you've got Jamie Lindsay sat on the bench. I don't get it.
And I think he tried to rectify that with his second change, which is why he brought Lindsay on.
Yeah, he did. But he took Ollie Rathbun off, and I thought Rathbun had a good game. Go on, Mick. You will defend Scott High and Paul Warne, I suspect, but I'm with Danny. That should have been Georgie Kelly or Tom Eaves at that point to give us something to help hold the ball a bit more.
I didn't understand why he brought Scott High on and taken off a striker for it. It seemed a bit peculiar. I saw obviously we get the camera zooming in and the substitute waiting to come on, and I just assumed that there was another one to come with it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Clearly they had some sort of idea as to what they wanted to do. Whether it was right, we've got a point with 20 minutes to go or whatever. Let's try and shore up a little bit and make sure that we hang on to it. And then I don't know. But one thing I don't know whether I've noticed it or not. It seems to me that the first round of substitutions that Warney tends to make is done to pave the way for the next couple. And he'll make one change, and we might have a change of formation for a few minutes, and then the next lot of substitutions, the formation changes back, and we've got the right players in the right place. Scott High for me is learning his trade, isn't he? So it's a difficult one. He needs to get some match time, but yeah, just a strange one. I didn't really get it, and I've not really said anything at all there ever. But,
you just agreed with me and Danny, which is fine.
Yeah. I should have just said I agree with you. Yeah, that would save 2 minutes of everybody's life, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah. Sorry. Apologies.
Yeah, fine. A couple of mentions, Danny. Victor with that save in the second half from the goal. I'm still not sure how that shot didn't go in from what I know. Victor got his hand on it, but for just a roll across the line, basically, I was just convinced. Well, I was convinced it were in. And that should show the bravery of Victor that you could question his position to start with, but his recovery and his bravery just to throw himself at the feet of an attacker was excellent, and it stopped a goal.
You speak for yourself. Everybody in the stadium was convinced that had gone in, including away end. But then we just saw wait a minute, everybody's carrying on. Middlesbrough fans in their ultras section were still celebrating, and it's place carried on, what you on about? But honestly, we were all having conversation how on earth did that not cross the line? We were getting, I was getting PTSD about what happened with Huddersfield, how the goal thing wasn't working, so that's why their goal didn't get given. It's what the hell has this happened to us? But now it just didn't cross the line. I mean, you mentioned Victor's positioning. Yeah, he wasn't quite positioned as you'd expect to begin with. But what a recovery. What a recovery from that, to get his hand to it and for the ball. And a bit of luck that the ball didn't actually cross the line. But great recovery from Victor. And he's definitely earned himself some sort of alcoholic beverage after pulling off that clean sheet. Whether it's a low alcohol one, we'll leave that up to him. But fantastic save in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's international break. I'm sure he can have a couple. I'm sure that's fine during internationals. Just
not with his dad, or else still be in a state when he comes back to training.
Shellstone says that was our bit of luck last night. Yeah, it was. Woody did his best. Woody was brilliant last night, Mick. But there was just that one moment, weren't there, where Woody just calamitously fell over for no apparent reason. We can laugh at it now. Had that gone in, we wouldn't be laughing as much as we are, but it was just hilarious.
I think the IOC tweeted about the fact that is it another TikTok celebration that he'd done. But I mean, it was a bit of a worry. And to be fair, how why Watmore decided they were going to side foot that was just beyond me. He could have buried that had he tried any other method other than side footing it, which was always going to shove it straight over the top. But to be fair, his effort was straight at Victor, so had it been on target, it wouldn't have gone in anyway, unless he caught it with some real pace. So we got away with it. We got away with it, and like you said, we got away with it with a brilliant save from Victor at Watmore's feet as well. So real surprise to see him go off. A bit of a strange substitution. That it was their most dangerous player by
wasn't it?
Country mile, an absolute country mile.
Watmore was their number 18, wasn't it? Yeah. I was very surprised he went off. Like you say, Mickey, one of their better players on the pitch in his time. It's like, wow, he must have done something for them to take off their best performer. You know,
he was the only one that was ever going to break the deadlock for him.
Yeah,
for me, but whatever.
Yeah, Tobias is with us.
Hey.
Thank you for being with us, Tobias. Great to have you on board. John Melbourne fan says, I thought your best player was by far Barlas, but very comfortable in there. Sky reported he is out of contract, so there will be plenty of takers in there. Yeah, there's probably talks. I imagine the international break is a good time for talks to start on a contract extension. We'll report on that when we have anything to report on it. At the minute, there isn't anything to say.
The other thing that has been said on it is that Barlas is keen for talks to start. So, I don't know. He must be keen to stay if he wants talks to get going sooner rather than later, which is a good sign.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Brian Vernon, what more can we say about what more? Like it, Brian. Keep them coming. I'll be completely honest, we've run out of things to talk about from the middle of There's just nothing else. We've talked about the good performances. Mick, I can ask you about Chio. Chio is the second most foul player in the Championship. You don't like it when Jack Grealish gets that stat and things like that. How do you feel about Chio being up there?
I don't have a problem with it because I don't think he's anywhere close to winning it.
He went down softly a couple of times last night, to be fair.
Yeah, maybe he did actually. Maybe he did. He's not even close to getting the number of fouls that Grealish wins in inverted commas. So now one, it doesn't seem to be happening quite so much now. That seems to have been sort of fading out of the game a little bit. The only other point I would make, and I don't want to cause any upset to anybody, I would argue that we should have had a penalty last night. For me, the ref booked a couple of players for dragging back. One I can't remember who the first one was. It was the Borough captain, whatever his name was. And he dragged one of our midfielders back, arm around the waist kind of thing, and dragged them back. Rightly got booked. Cam Humphreys rightly got booked for doing the same in the second half for dragging one of their players down. And then in between that, Connor Washington ran into the box. Exactly the same foul, and it's not given, which was disappointing. It was disappointing for a couple of reasons. Whether the ref could see it or not, I don't know, but certainly the linesman could, because he was looking right along the line. There's only two players there, and it was a clear drag back. But it is what it is. I'm not going to moan about it. It's just the fact that I think we should have had one.
You so rarely see those given. They are so rarely given.
The frustrating thing is that they're given elsewhere on the pitch as a matter of course, and rightly so. That's not an issue. But if they're given in the centre circle, they should be given in the 18-yard box as well. There's no question about it. And if you end up with 5 penalties in a game for it happening, so be it. Because in 5 or 6 games' time, you won't end up with any, because people will learn and they'll stop doing it. But while they're allowed to get away with it, it'll continue to happen. So, yeah. But other than that, I think the referee had a decent game up until the last 10 minutes. For me, it was all right. It was reasonably, with the exception of what I just mentioned there. It was reasonably consistent. It was certainly consistent for both sides. I don't think So it was just the odd one or two bits and pieces, but it's always going to happen, isn't it? no matter who's doing it. So,
yeah. Cheryl Stone, I like this. She showed a tweet earlier saying that Arsenal's central midfield, the best stats, the best stats for a midfield in the top 5 leagues in Europe with 2 goals and assists. So that means that Richard Wood must have the best stats in the top 6 leagues in Europe with 4 goals and an assist. Yes, we will take that. Richard Wood, currently the best defender in Europe.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about Paul Warne. NSW says Tony Stewart must tie Paul Warne down. To clarify all the rumours that have been floating around, if anybody's not seen this, I'm sure you have seen Paul Warne's interview, but we'll cover it off anyway. Paul Warne, in a roundabout way, said that Huddersfield have not come a knocking, which we all sort of knew anyway. Danny, I've seen some people, more than one person actually, sort of not completely happy with Paul Warne's interview and not completely happy with Paul Warne's denial. Basically, unhappy that it wasn't a flat out, no, I'm not going anywhere, which it wasn't. It was in a roundabout way. In a roundabout way, he did say it, but he sort of said it, and some people aren't happy about it. How did you feel about the first little denial he gave? And the second point is, do you think he will leave at some point in the season? Because he's getting interest, apparently.
I haven't actually seen his denial, but we know what Warne is like. He never really flat out denies something when, like he never flat out denied the initial rumour that we were interested in Cole Stockton, like back when it first appeared. He never really flat out denied it until it started getting annoying how much we were getting linked with him, and then it became a flat out no. And yeah, there has been interest in Warne. I mean, the bookies don't have those odds up for nothing. They don't just have the idea to go, oh, we'll put Paul Warne on the list. There has been, obviously someone has said something like, oh, Paul Warne's name might be mentioned, whether he's just on the list, but they're not looking directly at him. He could be like 6th on the list and they're only looking at the first 2, for example. I think if we go down this season, which is still an if at this point, then I think Warne will go, because I think he will feel that he's taken the club as far as he can. However, from what we are doing so far this season and the start that we've had, I think Warne is looking at it and going, you know what? I might have finally cracked this. So I can't see him leaving at any point during this season. His decision will be made in the next postseason, I think. And yeah, I honestly can't see him leaving. Like, why would he go to Huddersfield? It's a step down, technically, because it's not his squad. He might not be backed as much as Tony backs him, because Huddersfield are very much we need the results now sort of team, rather than we want the results next season. And when after you've built your squad, they want someone to come in and do it now and improve this season. Whereas with Warne, it's just like he's slowly crafting Rotherham into like his team, if you like. And it has taken him this long to do that. And I personally think he's just about to crack it. All we need is a good string of results, that first win away from home, and I think he will have cracked it. And that's what modern football is sort of missing, if you like. Like, the best managers always get the praise when they've been in the job for a while. They've sort of crafted it and moulded it into their own baby, if you like. And you have managers who come in, do it very quickly, then it starts to get a bit rough, and then they've gone. Like with Chris Wilder at Sheffield United, he came in, did really well with it, got into the Premier League, and as soon as it started going badly, he'd gone. Right? But I don't think Warne is like that. Like John Morrell says, Warne is a smart bloke. He was very careful not to answer the question and avoid it completely. And then he says, maybe a little bit of a worrying interview. But personally, the sort of character that Warne is, he wouldn't deny it outright. He'd just say, no, there's no interest at the minute.
Yeah, I think that's more it, Mick. I think Danny's right. Paul Warne is is a bit of a pessimist, where he doesn't sort of rule anything out ever. Like the Cole Stockton is a really good example. He never wants to rule it out, because if next week there becomes interest and something changes, if he come out and said, no, I don't want Huddersfield job, and then 3 weeks later we sack him and Huddersfield come in for him, well, he's gone out on record and said he's not going to go to Huddersfield. And that doesn't play very well for the Huddersfield fans. That's obviously an extreme example. I suspect that's part of it. What's the point in denying it, saying I'm never going to leave, never going to go there, when worlds change? I don't think Paul Warren's going to go anywhere. I have no reason to think he will go anywhere. What were your general thoughts on it?
My view is that I don't think Paul Warren will go anywhere else. I think the stress of the job is almost too much for him, and I think he's got himself to blame for that to a degree because of the commitment and the emotional commitment he puts into the job. And having got sort of listened to the Moment of Truth podcasts and listening to how much he puts into these games, how difficult it is for him. I'd be really surprised if he went anywhere else. That'd be the first thing. I mean, from a Huddersfield point of view, they've just sacked the manager after 9 games. I mean, does that really bode well for anybody going in there that's going to be new to that club? It doesn't bode well for me as an outsider. I wouldn't be looking and thinking, well, that's a decent career move. It's not. It's that club at the moment is ripe for a destroying exit, isn't it? You know, go and get your money and sod off. That's what Huddersfield would appear to be at the moment, and possibly likewise with Cardiff. It depends whether they're going to again commit to giving a manager some time. Very few clubs are willing to do that. We've been lucky in that respect. That we've had, Warney's had a long period of time to build a team, build a culture throughout the club, literally throughout the club, and that's what it takes for a person of Warney's calibre to be able to be successful, in my view. He's not a Neil Warnock. He's not going to come in and bring you immediate success like Warnock does. He's a completely different kind of bloke, and he's got a completely different ethos. So I think all the worry is the fact that the odds have been coming in the bookies and everything else. But you look at this market. It's not even up on Betfair where the serious punters get their odds from. It's not even a market on there. So the amount of money within it will be tiny. So if somebody puts 50p each way on Paul Warren getting that job, it's going to bring odds in. So I'd be amazed. I'd be hugely disappointed in him as well for taking on a job like that, because it's never ever going to be anything other than, well, it's not about anything. He's not going to get much money out of it because they ain't got any. And they're not going to give him the time. So it seems like a non-starter for me, that one.
Yeah, I agree. Apparently, because Paul Warren's Red Army. Yes, Paul Rockton, unless Norwich come a knocking, which is possible, but that's maybe another conversation we had for another day. Bazza points out Huddersfield didn't work out for Danny Cowley. Danny Cowley was very successful at Lincoln, took the jump to Huddersfield, and it didn't work out because partially
they didn't give him time.
Exactly, yeah. Look, he's still here. The odds have gone out on Huddersfield 1. He will start the day at 10-1 for the Cardiff job. He's now gone out much further than 10-1. So there's no speculation linking him to either job as things stand. There are going to be plenty more sackings between now and May. I don't think Paul will be one of them, but there are going to be plenty more. So there will be more links. And the more successful we are, the more links he's going to get. And that's a compliment to the job he's doing, that people are thinking, oh, well, what can this guy do what he's doing here? I hope it doesn't go. I
think the only 2 jobs that will really, really sell it for Paul Warren to leave Rotherham is Norwich in England, and that's it. Unless Norwich come in and say, right, we want you as our figurehead boyhood club supporting Norwich City manager. That is the only thing that will let him move somewhere else. Because let's face it, his entire setup is in technically Tickle, but it's in Rotherham. And I really, really can't see him uprooting everything and moving either to Huddersfield, which is a fair drive away from his family, or even down to Cardiff, which is even further. I know Richie Barker is based in Brighton, but he's made it work. Would Warney uproot his family or even his home life to go somewhere else when everything's here. I mean, his lad's just signed in with his first professional deal with Rotherham, so that's his thing for the future. So I really, really can't see him going anywhere else, at least for this season, with how we are doing at the minute.
Yeah, I can see him leaving at the end of the season. Either way, I can see it, but we'll see how that happens. John
So
Morrell,
for the time being, keep your money in your bank accounts. Do not put any bets on. Don't be silly. Because
John
by
Morrell
betting on it, you make it worse. Because then the odds go better.
Yeah, unless you want to start a rumour, then bet. Bet a 10.
Yeah.
John Morrell, Baggies fan, I know would like Paul to replace Bruce at West Brom. That could work. Grace Medley disagrees with us. He thinks that Warney is too emotionally tied to Rotherham, and if Huddersfield came in knocking, he will go because Grace Medley doesn't think that Paul Warne could take another relegation with the Millers.
But he'd be taking another relegation with Huddersfield instead.
But he's not right now. He's not emotionally attached to him.
Still another relegation on his CV, isn't it?
But the question is, does he care about his CV?
I don't think he does, but he cares about the work that he does. And if he went to another club, he would emotionally invest himself into that club because he would feel that it's his job, and which obviously it is. It's his responsibility, and he takes that. That's how he seems to work. So, listen, don't know. None of us know, do we?
No. Jamie asks if one was ever to leave, what happens with the coaching staff? Would they all go with him?
Ooh, that's
an interesting one. Obviously, hopefully we don't have to worry about it anytime soon. But
there's a couple there that could quite easily step into his shoes.
I think. I think this is just speculation. I think Richie Barker would go potentially to get a job further down south because if he's not at Rotherham United, what's he doing? I don't think it works for being up here. I think Hamshaw's no reason to leave. I don't think Warrington's any reason to leave. I could see Hamshaw's making the step up, to be honest.
Yes, I agree. I think Richie. I don't even think Richie would follow Warning to a new job. I reckon he'd go down south and pick up either an academy or 123's coaching role if he wanted to.
Back up with Carl Robinson. He worked with Carl Robinson for years, didn't he? So that's always an option. Anyway,
that's another one. And I think Hammy, because he has put on record that his greatest regret is not playing for the Millers, so he'd naturally try and step up and be Rotherham manager, I reckon. But anyway, getting rid of Souls.
Can I just refer you back to the very beginning of this podcast where we talked about being 8th in Championship, 14 points, 1 game unbeaten all season. And here we are, 42 minutes later, talking about whether the manager's going to leave.
Exactly.
What sort of game is this?
We're just talking about the other talking points. Just talking about the result, isn't it?
It's not criticism. I'm just pointing out the kind of irony in this. You've got West Brom who are down there struggling with Steve Bruce. You've got Cardiff who've sacked the manager because they're struggling. You've got Huddersfield who've sacked the manager because they're struggling. We're not struggling at the moment. And all the signs, if you're a third party not emotionally connected to this club, all the signs suggest that we're not going to be struggling like some of these others are. Why would we be just wanting to discuss whether or not our manager's going to go or not? Yeah, he may not. But from our point of view, I don't think it's anything we need to worry about for the time being.
It's because, Mick, he's had one interview that people have looked far too much into. After odds have appeared on a betting app saying, "Ooh, he's second favourite for Huddersfield."
And I get that. I get all that, and Warney's never been one for doing his media stuff anyway. He hates doing it. We know that. We know he can't stand doing it. And if I got anything from that interview, the only thing I got was, "For God's sake, will you stop talking and let me go?" That was my. I want to go home. He's already let all team go. And he's still here having to talk to people. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at it much deeper than that. I just want to get off home. It's 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. I've got a 2-hour drive home. Can you just leave me alone now and let me go? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should point out a ridiculous time for football to be on in this country. Hopefully Sky have learned the lesson. Don't put football on at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. It's not welcome.
No, put Premier League on.
Let
their fans suffer. But
we might care about it next season. So,
did you hear our fans giving our 2p about Sky Sports? Did that get picked up?
They never do when Sky shout song about they make sure it's not on, don't they?
That's a shame. We'll probably give Sky Sports grief at least 3 times during that match.
What I will say is you could very loudly hear the Rotherham fans. There were several times where you could definitely hear the Rotherham fans over the Borough fans. which made me very proud. Very, very proud.
I'm going to have to watch it back, see if I can hear myself, because I got 1 or 2 chants going.
Yeah. NSW says, well said, Mick. Some sinister people are trying to manufacture a move for Paul Warne, possibly. Millie Click says, I can't help but think the kickoff being so late helped make such a good atmosphere.
Yes, I wonder what liquid made that happen.
Just on a couple of fixtures where I want to point out this out. We talked this week about Middlesbrough playing on Tuesday rather than playing on Wednesday. Second time it's happened so far this season. The next time we play on a Wednesday, we play Blackburn on the following Saturday. Blackburn play on the Tuesday. So all 3 of our games so far when we've played on a Wednesday, our opposition have played on a Tuesday. When we have played following a Tuesday, the team we played on the Saturday played on
Tuesday,
correct? Yes. Which Paul Warne did refer. We've been picked up on this before by people in the comments, sort of saying that that's nonsense. Paul Warne's picked up on it himself. If Paul Warne's saying that he doesn't like it, then that's good enough for me to say that it shouldn't be happening. That is more than good enough. It shouldn't be happening. It should be getting. When it's such a short time, you should be getting the same rest. If it's 7 or 8 days, it doesn't make a difference. One team's getting 2 days rest, and the other team's getting an extra day rest. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair, and I don't know why we play on a Wednesday night anyway. Why the hell do we play on a Wednesday night? Other than for money reasons, it's stupid.
I think John mentioned it in the comments last time. It's about the number of games they can get on the red button,
Stupid.
so they have to split it. So it's about Sky. It's about money.
Don't like it. Shouldn't happen.
Whatevs.
Talk about sporting integrity. Just remember that next time the EFL mention the phrase sporting integrity. Because they will. Right, Mick, let's talk about our trip today. We made a trip out to Roundwood for the Royal United's women's team's first home game of the season. It didn't go to plan. It was a 5-1 defeat to Chesterfield. I enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed the day out. I thought the atmosphere was pretty good. I thought there'd be more people there, to be honest with you. £3, it was dead good, right? It dead cheap.
Yeah. It's a proper cheap afternoon out, isn't it? To watch some good football as well. They're a strong side, Chesterfield. They were very, very strong. So, and obviously too strong for us today. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, not a good start for Rotherham. They lost 1-0 last week, 5-1 today at home. We'll be talking about it as the season goes through. And we're not going to stay on this very long. We've already been told off tonight for shouting at referees, Mick. But we've got an example today at the sort of grassroots level of refereeing standards. And we've talked to somebody in the know. We've talked to people about refereeing before who know about refereeing, and there is a problem with getting referees into the game.
Yeah.
And I saw it today that there's a bit of a problem with it because it was a real struggle to watch this game and the officiating. I felt sorry for the referee at times.
I suppose it wasn't a difficult game to referee. It didn't appear to be. It wasn't a nasty game. There was nothing of any significance at all. I don't know whether the guy was new or what. So he didn't have the best of days. Let's be honest. And you know what it's like. You can at games like this when there's not a lot of people there. We were stood behind the fourth official, and I don't think he knew what were going off either. There were a number of times when he was having a conversation with somebody, and he was kind of shrugging his shoulders, not knowing. So yeah, well, it's. You're absolutely right. It is difficult to get people to do the job, and it's probably difficult. One of the reasons it's difficult to get people to do the job is because of people like me shouting them out all the time. I get that. I do understand that, but it's the nature of the beast. You know, you're always going to be, when you're in a position, whether it be a referee or any position where you're in charge of something, and you're supervising something, you're always going to get different opinions, and it depends what role you're in as to how those opinions are voiced towards you. So it's something that you've got to deal with, and if you can't deal with it, obviously the job's not for you. That I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that is a fact, whether we like it or not. So it is difficult, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is from a wider standpoint. But just going back to the game today, I thought it was really good. I thought the quality was very good. I think Rotherham United ladies have got some work to do. Clearly, they've got some work to do. But yeah, there was a period throughout in the game. I don't know what I think probably about 10 minutes into the second half where it was 2-0 and they really came back into the game. Really came back in. They seemed to change up a gear. Got a goal back. But then, unfortunately, they weren't able to maintain that level, and they conceded a couple, and heads went down. So it's early days for them as a club, as a team, and I'm sure there'll be better days to come this season, without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Dinas Reyes scored the goal for Rotherham United women today, and it was a very, very good free kick. That she scored, very, very good free kick. And Georgia Ward in goal pulled off a couple of really good saves as well. One that got called for offside, if you recall, Mick. This was a direct free kick where somebody had a shot and the kick's come straight through the keeper and she's tipped it off at bar, and it was a cracking save, and it's given offside. It went straight to the keeper. Brilliant. It was so good.
Yeah, it was a bit bizarre, wasn't it, that? I don't think anybody. I think that was the point that the fourth official turned around and shrugged his shoulders. So I don't know what's happening.
I haven't done a refereeing course, but that sounds like a corner to me.
Yeah.
Listen,
I think they're playing again in 2 weeks' time on Sunday, or Woolwich 73. So if you're not doing it on the Sundays, they play at Roundwood. It was great. Me, Mick, and Ben. I took my little girl there with her, which is a good laugh.
Yeah.
Talking about football and stuff.
Listen, you can go there. You get in for £3. You go to New York Stadium. Forget how much you pay to get in, but it's £2.50 for a coffee and £3 for a Mars bar. It were £2 for a coffee and a Mars bar, and I still got 10p change today. So I've got to be happy with that, mate. It's worth it. It's worth a trip down there, definitely.
Yeah.
And if you get a bit frustrated at the referee and you're of the golfing persuasion, you can chuck £20 in and go for a round of golf to chill out as well.
Don't get frustrated at referee because everybody can hear you, including referee.
That was the thing. There were a few people that sat down in their sort of shed bit at Roundwood, and they were shouting at referee. And the problem is, because there was like 100 people there, it was really, really noticeable that somebody was shouting at the referee.
It weren't great, that.
It
wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't Mick. Unbelievably. Although Mick did get told by Ben for shouting.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's one reason I didn't go, because the last time I went to Roundwood, it was Sheffield FC against Parkgate, and we were quite verbally giving the linesman a bit of grief, because he said to us that he couldn't do the waving flag thing, giving a foul. He says he couldn't do it because he didn't have a radio to tell the referee. It's like, well, what's waving flag about for then? That's to tell the referee what's happening. He says, no, I can't do that because the referee said not to do that. So we were quite clearly giving him a bit of grief for it. And then he says to this fella who was stood next to him, he went, right, after the game, I'll explain the rules to you. And as soon as final whistle went, he came stomping over from halfway line to go and talk to this fella. And me and mate just went, right, time for us to dip off. See you later. So knowing my luck, I'd be the one giving the referee grief, and they come and have a word with me afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to keep your head
Yeah.
down.
Again, we've done nearly an hour on a 0-0 game where nothing happened. Quite proud of ourselves for that one. Anything else you want to cover before we finish for the international break?
Yes.
Ooh, I like it.
This has just come out from Paul Davis at the Advertiser, and it's in regards to Brooke Norton-Cuffy playing for England. Which, by the way, when was the last time we had a Rotherham player playing for England? I know it's youth level, but still, if anyone knows that, was it really? I was going to say, if anyone knows.
No, he won't play for us when he went to England, did he? No, forget that. We haven't.
No, Dave Watson. No, he left to Sunderland.
If it has happened before, let me know. Tweet it at me if you know. But anyway, we are asking the FA if he is, well, if asking permission if he can stay in Rotherham and work on his fitness a little bit rather than being risked with the England squad, because he's got a hamstring niggle that Paul Warne thinks may get worse if he travels with the England squad. So we are planning to ask the FA to excuse him from travelling so he can work on his fitness, which is a shame because it'll be his first time moving up to under 20s level. But you have to think of the player's welfare, and if he's staying at Roundwood to work on his fitness a bit, then that's fair enough. And if Arsenal agree with us, then that's another story. But yeah, we're doing that apparently.
Yeah, it's the England setup, the under-21 setup is very odd. But the only reason we have an under-20 teams is for the World Cup, because there is only an under-20s World Cup. There's no under-19s or under-21s. So you don't often get an under-20s squad. So they don't really play any competitive games. So they are friendlies. So they may be more lenient to say, keep him back because he's played under 19s, he's won Euros under 19s. They know what he's got, don't they?
Yeah.
So hopefully, with it being that, it's not like under 21 qualifiers or anything like that. So hopefully, they will be more sympathetic to our plea. Although it's the FA, and we know what we're like, don't we? David Pearce says Trevor Phillips. Mick,
I don't think Trevor Phillips played for England, did he? I'll stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. Whether he played at under 21 level or junior level like that, I wouldn't have a clue. But he certainly weren't in full England squad. Definitely not.
It says he played. It says his national team was England youth, but it doesn't give any further information about that, unfortunately. And then Stephen Adams says Albert Bennett. Anything on that one, Mick?
Is that England under 23 or England 1923? Is that typo, Steve? I don't know. Again, means nothing to me, that I'm afraid.
Albert Bennett did play, yes. Very good. Thank you very, very, very good, Stephen Adams. We have a winner. Stephen Adams points out Albert Bennett played in 1964. He made one appearance for England under 23s whilst playing for Rotherham United.
Wowzers.
That is a shout and a half.
That is proper pub quiz trivia, that, isn't it?
Yeah. We have one final one in the comments. We have Cheryl Stone. We'll find out. Bobby Mims.
Wasn't he until he left when he got an international call?
1985, he played for England. Unless there's going to be a crossover here. He played for England under 21s in 1985. He left Rotherham in 1985.
I think he'd already left. Did he go to Everton, Bobby Mims?
He went to Everton. Yes, he did.
I think it was when he'd gone.
Okay. That's going to take some to get. He's not clear on his. We will find out.
All right. Cheryl's saying just before he went to Everton, so she's right. She's right.
Yeah, I will. Well, if she's right, well, I'm more than happy to take Cheryl's word for it. Cheryl, we know Cheryl in the comments, so thank you.
It's a good call, that, Cheryl, but it's not as good as Albert Bennett.
I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. There we go. Anything else?
I don't think that's it.
Not from me.
Change of scheduling for the week ahead. We will be live on Wednesday evening to look ahead to the internationals. Now, because the World Cup's coming up, it's about time we have to sort of look ahead to England and what England may look like during the World Cup as well. So we'll we'll be live Wednesday evening, still the same time, 8 p.m. Well, back to the normal time, 8 p.m., where we're going to look ahead to England's games on Friday night, and I think there's one on Monday as well. Excuse me. We'll also talk about Shane Ferguson, and their international exploits as well. And should anybody else get called up, we will cover that as well. And then, yeah, we've got a former player coming on to speak to us also this week. We're going to record that later this week. That will be out the following week. And we are trying to work on a couple of other bits to be out next week or so. I'm not going to say what it is, because if it doesn't work out, we'll look like absolute mugs. But I can promise you there are things in the works. We're trying to get some special episodes out, which I think will be special episodes. I think so. Anyway, Mick thinks so. Danny don't know yet. I'll tell him in a minute.
Thanks.
So thank you everybody who has paid attention, been involved. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to an audio podcast or iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to that kind of stuff, please do subscribe to us on there as well. Danny, are we just getting the pie review from the Middlesbrough game?
Yes, I will schedule the vlog to be uploaded tomorrow morning. It won't be 11 o'clock, so it doesn't clash with the Queen's funeral. So I'll schedule it earlier in the morning. But the pie review will be up probably later tonight, I think, when I've had a look through the footage and seeing how my camerawoman's filming's been.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Danny. Always a pleasure. Win today, National Break, 8th place. Go and enjoy it. Rub it in the face of any friends you can find who care about football. And let's get our international groove on. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Cheers.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it, it's done! It's Georgie Kelly!